Aloha and welcome to another episode of Financial Education with Hawaii Central Federal Credit Union. I'm Amber Millsap, and today I have with me Annie Cadirao, who is a pet mom and friend, and Gary Yanagihara, who is the EVP of PSH Insurance. And today we're going to be talking about planning for those unexpected health issues with your pet. And before we start though, I want to ask Annie to tell us a little bit about herself and why she's here today.
Well, I'm definitely here because I want to find ways to adequately take care of my furries. But I've someone who's done a myriad of things over the years. So I've been volunteer coordinator. I've worked at different worldwide events and done volunteer things there. I've done accounting. I've done the whole 9 yards. So right now I'm just enjoying everything and doing a little of this and a little of that with events and things. And I have, as Amber knows, a little furry family of, right now we're at 10 putty cats and 1 dog, and I'm here to find out how to adequately take care of them and hopefully be able to cover the expenses that may come up.
And Annie, can you tell us a little bit about how you started your animal sanctuary there?
Okay, so it started basically, as many of you know, with COVID coming and the fact that the Humane Society wasn't able to take pets any longer. And so when my neighbors found anything furry or feathery, they ended up bringing them to my house. And then on top of that, my son hikes. And so the last one I got, Lulu, goes up to the Waianae Ridge and comes home with 2 furry little things who are pregnant. And so we've expanded. We started with 3 and we actually went up to 14. And now I'm down to 10. So it's been a very interesting journey. So I'm excited to meet Gary.
Oh. Thank you so much for being here today, Annie. And I want to ask Gary to give us a little bit of introduction on himself as well.
Okay, so in 1976, I started my insurance career. And then in 1982, PSH Insurance was founded. So we're a locally owned brokerage company. And basically our foundation of doing business is education, woven with knowledge and experience. And we also employ this thing called a hands-on approach to assist our clients. We have 2 distinct markets. One is on the commercial market, which means that we offer a spectrum of employee benefits to companies, as well as we cater to individuals and offer individual health and life products.
Well, we have a specific subject to be talking about today, planning for those unexpected pet expenses. And I appreciate you being here again, Gary.
Oh, thank you.
Should we bring up that first slide,
Yes, let's bring up the first slide. So here, I have to tell a little bit about this picture. So this is one of my dogs. His name is Buddy.
So cute.
Looks pretty intelligent, probably looks more intelligent than I am, but he was one of those 78-pound in-house dogs. Great dog. But like any pet, you try to take care of them, and he had a litany of things that eventually, health issues that we had to take care of. So luckily I had pet insurance, and that's what we're kind of discussing today. So we all know that there's always unexpected accidents or illness, and I can give an example. So my dog had allergies, and we tried changing the food and everything else under the sun. So basically the veterinarian said that there's this allergist that comes in once a quarter in Hawaii. Mm-hmm. So I should get my dog tested. So I did. After 3 weeks getting a 5-page report, $800 later, he was allergic to everything. Grass, dirt, pollen, dust, you name it, he was allergic to it.
Buddy,
yeah. But eventually we got it kind of under control. And again, luckily, I had pet insurance. So out of the $800, it covered $700.
Oh, wow.
So my out-of-pocket was very minimal, which was a great thing for me, not having to worry about the financial side of it. We can try and go to the next slide.
I have a dog too.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, Pixie. And yeah, it is pretty expensive taking her to the vet. I mean, for her annual checkups every year, she has skin issues too.
Oh, yeah. And that's almost common in Hawaii.
Pixie?
Pixie?
Yeah.
Pixie is a terrier Chihuahua mix. She's wild. No, you know what? She's athletic. She's athletic.
Wild.
Anyway, we can bring up. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there, Gary. We can bring up that next slide.
So, like I mentioned before, so part of the diagnostic test as well as surgeries and tests and medication, that obviously amounts to a lot of dollars. And sometimes a person, knowing that there's health issues with their pet, they're hesitant to take the pet in because they know the cost. But having pet insurance, that takes away that concern because you know that, number one, you want to take care of your pet because they're part of the family, and that's what it really comes down to.
Yeah.
So there's no hesitancy of taking that pet of yours to the vet and getting that resolved. So I think that's a great thing to do.
Well, I didn't know that. I mean, when I first got a dog, she wasn't my dog. She's my girl's dog, but she's become my dog
Right.
over the years. And actually, quite quickly, she grew on me. And I wasn't a dog person to begin with. But, she was so cute and helpless, and they're just like little babies, and so I get that there, that they just grow on you,
Oh, they do.
and they do become part of the family. So, yeah, I mean, I can't imagine even kind of not taking her to the vet for care that she needs, But how much do you have an idea of how much that costs, these different procedures you talked about?
So maybe we should go to the next slide.
Okay.
Oh, and here it is.
Oh.
So you can see, and this is like averages on the mainland. So here it's probably a little different. And when you see pricing, it really depends on the type of injury it is or illness, and the severity of it will determine the cost. So don't just take these numbers to heart. It just depends, and the type of dog it is, and how old it is, and the current health condition. Yeah. So, but at least it gives you a glimpse of the potential costs.
So, like, we're talking, when we say joint injuries, we're saying like they might need surgery, or
Could
they
be
might
surgery.
What do they put their paws in a sling, or how
Could
do
be
they
broken
treat these?
bones. And it could be, like, unfortunately, dogs or cats, they have cancer too, right? So I had a friend who had a dog who had cancer, so they had to amputate the front paw, or front foot actually. Looks pretty sad, but he got accustomed to it really fast. It was like nothing happened, but obviously that costs a lot of money too.
Amputated.
Amputation plus the
Plus
medication,
treatment.
the treatments and so forth. Yeah. So
Well, I'd like to ask Annie, since she's here. Does Annie, I mean, what sort of issues have you experienced with your pets?
I've been really blessed. I don't have too many sick things. But I was talking earlier to sharing with you that I do have one that we have adopted that has come into the house. I call him BB, who actually has only one eye. And the other eye is still in there. But it's starting to get more bulging, and I'm concerned that he's going to get hurt, or they're going to play around and accidentally get scratched or something. So those kind of things more for me. I've been really, really blessed. And, I do have a vet that has helped me in terms of overall. So in that regard, because she felt bad. How many do you have? So she's been very helpful and everything. But that's not the case for most people.
you're right. That's
And
true.
my girlfriend actually had her bull mastiff black lab had cancer, and it cost them thousands because she didn't have insurance.
Right.
I mean, thousands. I was like shocked. But they're members of the family, so you do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Well, Annie, I mean, being as you have so many and you've kind of taken them in to just, care for them, is there any help through the Humane Society at all?
No, actually, it's really interesting. They've got different programs that will help you, like if you need to have them neutered and things like that. But overall, for regular things, no. And many of the agencies, and oddly enough, because I'm, I do work and I have a job and things like that, they're like, oh no, but otherwise you can just turn them in. But even now, the Humane Society has a rehoming fee.
Right.
So it's not like, it's not like before where
jeez.
you could just take them back.
Right.
Now they charge you to take them back.
Oh my goodness.
And then again, you said they've grown on you.
Oh yeah, so I can't do that.
Yeah.
So even my son has said, Mom, and I'm like, I can't do it. You choose. You take them back. And of course, then he's like, no, I can't do that. So, yeah. So we've got them. But they're so cute.
Yeah.
You do.
Once you have them for a while, they're
And they're
little
all so
souls.
distinct.
different
right?
personalities.
Yeah. Every
completely.
pet has their own personality, just like humans.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So maybe we should try going to the next slide because I think that would kind of, like even for humans, an annual checkup is always the best preventative care, as opposed to being more reactive. And again, the pet insurance, depending if you choose that option, would cover for those annual checkups.
Oh, wow.
And normally there's no deductible for that particular piece. It's just a flat dollar amount that's given to you, and it doesn't really cover the total cost, but at least there's some monies there that you don't have to be concerned about paying the full cost for the annual checkup.
So this isn't necessarily something that is in every pet health insurance plan, but it's an option.
It's an option. So basically, pet insurance is like either you buy an accident-only policy or an accident and illness policy. So either one, you can have this preventative, which is an optional portion.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like
So
a
it's an
rider.
add-on.
A rider, yeah. And
Okay.
and some companies have a basic preventative and an enhanced. So you have to make a choice because it comes down to affordability too, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, I've been thinking about pet insurance for Pixie, but luckily we've been okay with her health, except for that skin issue. She's on a limited ingredient diet. They have special diets too. Right?
Yep.
You know
Oh, no,
this,
they
right?
do.
expensive.
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's certain things we don't buy in our house.
We can try and go to the next slide. So pet insurance overall it's really a peace of mind for that pet owner. And pet owner maybe that's the wrong terminology. It's a pet lover because there's either pet owner or pet lover. Pet lover is basically that's your family member, so you'll do whatever it takes to get that member of your family well again. But the peace of mind is really important. Again, not having to worry about the financial commitment for any kind of services. You just take them to the vets, and the vets love it because they know that you're taking care of your pet, and they will try to, obviously, preventative-wise, catch something really early. If there's a start of cancer, they can treat them right away, as opposed to being spreading all over the place. Then it's because I had a dog like that where it just went all over, and we brought them in, and they just said can't do anything, and that was a sad. It wasn't Buddy, it was the dog before, and.
Oh my.
And we had to have them overnight. In fact, that particular day was New Year's Day, so no place was open. So you had to go to one of those 24/7 hospitals.
hospital.
Yeah. And they said to me, "Do you want to put her down now?" I said, "No, because I have my son, my daughter, my wife. They all want to be with the dog, So, so they said, "Okay, so we'll keep him overnight. Keep him, as healthy as possible. I'm going to need your credit card, and." The max we're going to charge is $3,500. I didn't say no because that's your pet. So so you just gave the credit card, and when we went to see the next morning, it was like nothing happened. He was happy, bouncing, and everything else under the sun. But the vet reminded me that's what it looks like now. But as soon as you bring your pet home, within several hours, it'll be just like how you brought him in. So the decision was to put her down. So it was a tough thing.
Yeah, I can't imagine. I'm on my first dog, so I can't imagine.
That's the hardest. Your first dog.
Yeah.
That's really the hardest. Yeah.
Yeah, I cried actually, because I didn't know what was going on with her when I first got her. She had some, like irritable bowel type things going on, and a little bit of blood in the stool, and I was like, what's wrong with her, and started crying, and my girls were with their dad, and I was like, you need to come home right away. I don't know what's going on with this dog. She needs more care, because they were like on a break. And so I was leaving her home while I was going to work, and I was just worried about her while she was at home, so, and luckily she survived.
That's good.
Oh yeah. No. Yeah, I've had more than a few, so cats and dogs. So, in fact, my dog even, we lost Malo, my bull mastiff black lab, last year, and I had him cremated. And my husband, I mentioned, passed last year, and we put their ashes together because that was his first and only pet.
Oh.
So, but I
Wow.
have all these little ashes of all my cats. And my son says, Mom, when we're sprinkling you, we're going to be sprinkling more pets than we are human. I'm like, yeah, we do have a few.
That's funny.
Yeah, so, but you know, they do. They become part of your family.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
And then
Definitely.
you can't just leave them.
No. No.
So, yeah.
Yeah, you feel guilty.
Yes. Yeah, and I have enough guilt already. We don't need to add more. So,
And I think the last slide kind of almost sums up everything where what's unique about pet insurance is you can tailor make the plan to what you feel is necessary, budget-wise as well as benefit-wise. Obviously, sometimes people, they want the best plan, but they want to pay the least amount of premium. So obviously that doesn't work. That combination, that combination doesn't work.
me.
So you have to kind of compromise and, find out what budget-wise makes sense. And sometimes the question always becomes, when should I buy pet insurance? Okay, so, and that's really a good question. So my knee-jerk response is always buy the pet insurance when you have a puppy, if you start off with a puppy, because at that point, there's no health conditions that really shows up,
right.
And all pet insurance has pre-existing health conditions.
Oh. Okay.
So that you should be aware of that. So you should buy it as soon as you can. Just remember, if the pet is a little older, then they have a pre-existing health condition, that condition will not be covered with the pet health insurance.
So if, in fact, I have never taken the pet to the vet and it's not documented, then I'm fine.
Pretty much, yeah, pretty much. Although, you would have to get the pet insurance prior to taking to the vet, right? Because
Right.
if you took it to the vet and then, by then there'll be something in the records.
Yeah.
But the easiest is really when the pet is a puppy or a kitten, because, like when the dogs grow older, certain breeds, they have congenital problems, hip dysplasia, skin conditions,
Bull mastiffs, labs. Yeah.
joint problems, and so forth and so on. So it's always best to do it as soon as possible.
That's what I was going to ask you. Are there any breeds of dogs that you would recommend getting pet insurance for, or any breeds of dogs that maybe aren't even covered on
Yeah,
pet
so
insurance?
When we first did this 10 years ago, offering pet insurance, most of the carriers had certain breeds that would not be covered.
Oh, really?
But that has changed now. It pretty much all the carriers would accept all the breeds.
Oh, wow.
So that's good.
great.
Yeah. So when it comes to your homeowners insurance, now there are certain breeds that they're not gonna cover you if you're, if you had a pit bull or bull mastiff or whatever the case. They won't cover
Yeah.
that if there's a issue
My bull
there.
mastiff.
Yeah. But as far as pet insurance, so far majority of all the carriers would cover any breed, which is nice. And sometimes the question always becomes, what would the cost be? Knowing, and again, this is an average. So the average we find out is about $49 a month. But it can be anywhere higher than that or lower than that because, it depends on the benefits you choose, which is your deductible, your actual annual benefit, the percentage you want reimbursed. Is it a 70% plan, an 80% plan, 90%? So obviously
So
the
they have
higher,
different variables too.
so the higher you have it, obviously the higher the cost.
Right.
Unless you make it up by having a higher deductible. Instead of $200, maybe you say you want $1,000 deductible. Then the cost will be a little less. That means that you're paying $1,000 out of pocket, right?
yeah.
So you got to kind of work the combination of what works best for you.
49 isn't too bad. It's kind of like car insurance,
Yeah.
right? I mean,
Well,
for most people.
for most people, yeah.
For most people. Depending on what kind of car you have,
Exactly.
Yeah.
how fast you drive, how many
Yeah. How clean your record is.
Especially that part.
So are there any tips you have for someone looking into pet insurance?
Yeah, I think most of the time when people ask me that, I normally say go to the Google and in the search just put what is the 10 best pet insurance for 2023. Okay, and they'll come up with those 10 carriers. So, you can look, they have like 5-star, 4.5, whatever. So you can pick the top 3 maybe, and you can either get a quote from each one and you can compare. But when you ask for a quote, you make sure that the plan design is exactly the same for each one. So you get, It's almost like
Apples
an
to
app.
apples.
Right. Then you can look at the premiums. Then after you do that, then normally you can get the a sample of the policy. You can download the policy. Then you look at what the exclusions are between those carriers. Because sometimes the exclusions may be different from carrier to carrier. That's the most important thing, what's not covered. Yeah. Because what's covered is the easy part.
Annie, did you have any questions for Gary?
No, but actually that last line was excellent advice because I wouldn't think to look at the exclusions first.
Yeah. That's the most important part.
Yeah.
Because
And I'll
most people
remember
look at that when they say you can't get it.
Yes.
Where does it say? It's in exclusions.
Okay.
I don't need it. No, just kidding. No, we always think we don't need it.
Yeah.
And then it's like, man, why didn't I get it? You know, when you're faced with that bill.
But that's
right?
human nature, right? I mean, everybody, I always tell people, you can't buy fire insurance when your house is smoldering, right?
Yeah.
So but it's, you know, it's one of those balancing acts. You know you may gonna need it, maybe not now, but in the future for illness. Accident, you can never tell, right? I mean, the dog can be, especially puppies, they put everything in their mouth and they swallow everything. So that already,
They jump all over things.
yeah, so already that's a problem.
Well, I've been learning a lot about insurance and how it kind of can, you know, when we're not able to maybe save and create a savings, it'll fill in the gaps when we have these unexpected things happen,
right.
you know, because who has $3,500 laying around, right? So it is kind of another way to look at things, insurance, you know, and just planning for those unexpected events, right? Not just with our pets, but
Ourselves.
anything,
yeah.
right?
Anything.
So with that, though, I guess we have a few minutes left. Is there anything that you'd like to kind of close out with, Gary?
Oh, let's see. I think one of the things that one of the questions anyway that comes up is when they look at pet insurance carriers, what would be the best carrier? And the only thing I can say is just look at their ratings, how long they've been in business. And, you know, there's always a conversation line, or you can call the carrier and you can ask for certain information. But majority of the carriers are pretty good as far as servicing. I mean, they're really quick because they know that they have a lot of competition. But really take your time to research the carrier as well as the product.
Do you work with all carriers?
Not all carriers, because
You've done your research.
yeah, I did the research, and for some carriers you can only go direct to them. So we only deal with the carriers that we can represent, and that's a benefit in a sense, because if there's an issue, we can adjudicate it in a sense of
You help
representing,
with that, right?
getting that thing resolved, because we know the lingo, and you know, I mean, that's what we do anyway for any other insurance policies. But when you go direct, it's not that it's hard, but it may be a little difficult because you may not understand the terminology and or what they're actually asking you or telling you.
Yeah, I've dealt with that before. Personally, with an issue, I went to the doctor. I had this thing growing on my nose. I mean, it was huge. And I said, "What is this?" And then I thought it was cancerous, right? It popped up pretty quickly. It was like the size of an eraser. And they said, "Oh, don't worry about it. It's not cancerous." And I said, "Well, can you take it off?"
It's not Halloween yet.
right? And then they said, "Oh yeah, you can go to our aesthetic center and get it removed." And I was like, "Oh, okay, where's that?" And then they told me it was going to be a couple $100. This was 20 years ago, so that was kind of a lot for me. And I was a student, and like I went in, they cut it off like 10 seconds, and then you know, and I'm like, "So what? $200-something for 10 seconds?" They said, "Oh, because we gotta test it for cancer." I said, "Test it for cancer? You said you could definitively tell me it doesn't have cancer. And now you got to test it? Why? I have to pay." It's a way of passing the buck. But if you don't have the energy, though, that's why it's nice to have, I guess, someone like you.
Yeah, it's definitely
in
easier.
the middle. Yeah,
it's definitely easier.
I didn't have the energy at that time. I had little ones at home, and you know, going to school. I just was not wanting to fight insurance. But yeah, with that, I'd like to, you know, just say thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Gary. Thank you, Annie, for being here today. And ahui ho. And